just look at the case study objectives of today. First objective is to provide an understanding of the value of enterprise data management approach in managing master data and data warehousing / business intelligence. To provide know-how in using the approach to achieve successful implementation. And that's implementations of, we'll show the case study of product master data, but we've already extended it. Since we put this together, this particular case study, we've already extended that to provide customer master data as well, and some transactional data management capability, because the ERP applications can't manage that transactional data the way it needs to be managed. So we're mastering it as part of the master data control system, as the client has called it. The business intelligence / data warehousing and data quality management solutions, both for and across the enterprise. In this case, as I said, 12 businesses, all running independently, and 8 acquisitions. And we're already been told that those 8 acquisitions are going to grow by at least 50% in the next 6 to 12 months. Third objective is to provide the know-how to solve your organisation's master data management, data warehousing business intelligence and data quality issues. We have one solution that meets all of these requirements, and we'll go through the case study as to how we actually delivered that for this particular retailer and manufacturer. Fourth objective is to provide a foundation to mastering your data quality management. Data quality is something, I don't know how many organisations we've been into to perform data warehousing strategies and just assess where they're at, often with 3 or 4 or more data warehouses, often called enterprise data warehouses, because they've got a whole lot of applications data across the enterprise all shoved into the one environment. It's not an enterprise data warehouse, but they call it that. Data quality is often de-scoped right up front. So straight away you know it's going to be a failed project, because data quality is paramount in any data warehousing situation or in implementation, particularly in environments like telecommunications, heavily regulated. Cannot succeed unless you can guarantee the quality of the data. And some of you may remember the mobile number portability implementation that we did in Telstra Wholesale and at the industry level we went through last year, and that's based on the business demanding the highest level of data quality. Otherwise there were massive fines, massive penalties that apply to the telecommunications companies. We provide an understanding of why reports are so yesterday. Anyone that scopes data warehousing, business intelligence solution based on reports is also doomed to failure. Why? Very simply, massive data gaps always exist. You cannot define the scope. Data are created and used by business functions. Unless you understand the functional perspective to define all the business data that's within the scope of a particular project, even if that project is not specified from an enterprise architectural perspective, you can still scope it and identify the data gaps right up front. And that's why we use our enterprise services model, which we have the retail manufacturer, 2 of the 3 pages of the enterprise services model. As you can see, this particular function here is product master data or product data management. That's been developed to a lower level of detail because that was the focus on the organisation, to implement that across the 22 plus applications that currently manage that product data. So we understand where product data fits within the organisational or enterprise perspective, and we've drilled down lower levels of detail because we've actually modelled that. You see the product information architecture, as we call it, left of the enterprise services model, right down to the business rules, all specified in one schema and now fully implemented in one schema in fifth normal form, not using massively parallel processing capability as well. All business rules enforced in that implementation. Okay, that enterprise business blueprint, that enterprise services model, is a single specification for all data management and business intelligence requirements. We call it an enterprise services model because it specifies each and every one of the business services. So those business services defined for a SOA, service-oriented architecture, are predefined in that enterprise services model. It removes the dependence on the individual's industry knowledge, which we've all come to depend on. And we had a client just recently who had an application that wasn't educational institution, wasn't documented. The person left They had to decommission the application. It was working perfectly. No one knew how to even maintain it. No documentation. It has the functional data and information flow and information sharing perspectives. Yes?
When you say an enterprise services model, are you talking about this? Are you talking about the services, any service that an organization might have within it, or are you talking about the services they might offer a customer?
What we're talking about, the enterprise, here's a sample of the enterprise services model for this manufacturer. These services are based on the strategic business objectives of the organisation, which are the basis of identifying the business functions, and then decomposing those business functions down to a level where you identify the functions that create business data, so business data across the top axis, information created and used, identifying the shareability, and therefore defining the full service from a service-oriented architecture perspective. Business-driven. It addresses the management of data in the context of business functions and business rules. Because although the enterprise services model, it's based on business policies, not business rules, but the integrated logical data model models right down to the business rules. You must understand the business rules to be able to guarantee the quality of data in any enterprise data warehousing or master data management solution. You must understand the context of the data. Implementation decisions are then driven from all businesses and all business units' perspective, not just any one business unit. But the specialisations required for any one business unit are also shown in the model. For example, if you take a closer look, there's various subtypes of data, the business concepts that need to be specialised, because selling products and buying products as subtypes of product types must be specialised, because certain characteristics, like the Australian product number, the APN or the EAN or the ton, they are only characteristics of a selling product, not a product per se. The same philosophy applies for individual businesses. You subtype their specialised needs. Then you've defined the integrated perspective. You can make the decision from an implementation perspective whether I'm going to centralise this implementation or whether I'm going to distribute the implementation. In enterprise data warehousing, whether I'm going to have one single integrated view or I'm going to build data marts for those specialisations. You can make those decisions right up front. It guarantees sharing and reuse, sharing of all the components. Those business services are reused. For example, the mobile number portability implementation in Telstra Wholesale was developed in 2001, 21st September 2001. There has not been $1 of IT costs over and above normal operational costs since then. Yet all the service level agreements have changed dramatically. In the first 6 months they were turned over because it was brand new functionality. The industry learned as it went, but that particular enterprise data warehousing implementation did not change. It catered for all of those needs. The original 11 reports turned into now in excess of 1,000 analytics and reports. Not one chain, not $1 of change. The business capability was provided for the business to slice and dice the data, to analyse the data based on the integration of that data and the provision of that data and the capability to do what the business required to be performed. So we guarantee sharing and reuse. It's ISO standards compliant, as I mentioned, the conceptual schema standard, and it's based on the latest enterprise business systems integration research, which is coming out of Europe and Northern Europe in particular, where, like University of Bora, they have 23 PhD graduates who are purely researching enterprise modelling, as they call it, what we call enterprise service modelling, or enterprise services model. We believe they're still 6 years behind where we're at, and they've implemented nothing. It's still a theory to them. A good theory, though.